Hi everyone, welcome to my roundup of books I read in May. I read 18 books, so because I've got loads to get through, I will go off quickly and hopefully get through them all. First book I read was The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. I gave this 5 stars, really liked it, great read, loved the twists, and a little bit about it when you find it near the end actually made me quite sad about what they killed the changelings. But without giving too much away, I really enjoyed this. I would recommend it. My next book is one of my all-time favourites. Shout out to my English teacher, Mrs. Loveridge, who got me reading this at school when I was 16. I loved it. I love Rebecca. I've had to get a new book because I've read it so many times. My last one fell apart. Will always be one of my 5-star books. Daphne du Maurier wrote this so well. The storytelling, the descriptions, the plot twist. If you've never read it, I would highly recommend. It is one of my all-time favourite books. And I really wish it came in a Chilton Classic cover, but it doesn't. But I love this one anyway. My next book is... This was on our list of books to read for 2023. It's She Is Haunting by Trang Thanh Tran. I hope I said that right. I'm rubbish with names. This is a 3-star read for me. I love the descriptions of Vietnam where it's based. Love that. I just didn't like this genre. I decided this genre's not for me. Freaked me out a bit, especially the insects and things like that. But nothing wrong with it. And I reckon if you like horror sort of books, you probably will like this. Complete opposite end of the spectrum. I was completely influenced by somebody I saw on BookTok, Catherine Bakewell's Flower Heart. There is nothing bad about this book. It is just beautifully written. The cover's gorgeous. The story is wonderful. It's a real cottagecore fantasy romance about magic and her magic that goes wrong and how she has to try and channel it right. It's really, really good. I would thoroughly recommend this, and I probably will be reading this again. My next one on my list was an audiobook, and my present to myself is once I've listened to a classic on audio, I get to buy the gorgeous Chilton Classics to go. And this one I think is really stunning. Lovely edges. Really, really like this book. If you've not read this or listened to it, I would recommend listening to an Audible. I got it from. The narrator was really good. I really like this. It's all about a picture where everyone says he's gorgeous. He said he wished he could stay like that. Turns out the picture ages, he doesn't. And there's twists in it as well. But thoroughly recommend, 5 stars. Okay, my next book I read was Back in Spell by Lana Harper. This is the 3rd book in the series. I absolutely love this one. This one's about the Blackmore family and Nina. Really loved it. Really, really, really good book. Would really recommend the series if you haven't tried it. And I believe the last one's coming out later this year, so I'm excited for that. Another 5-star read for me. The next book I read was this one here, The Story of O by Pauline Réage. My French is not great, so I don't know what to say about this. I read it because a TikToker said she'd read it and it was filthy, but it was banned in 1954, so by the French, so it's got to be spicy if it's by the French to ban it. I found it hard to read. It's all about a slave in the sexual vibe of it, and she ends up in a chateau where she's basically used and abused. She thinks she's in love with someone. I think they're just taking advantage, and it's all about her story and what happens to her, and the fact that she was quite young made it quite hard reading. But I'm glad I read it, and it'd be interesting to see what other people think of it as well, because I think she's going to do a follow-up. I can't remember who it was, but I know she is. The next book I read was Once a Monster. This was an arc I got through NetGalley by Robert Dinsdale. I gave this 4 stars. Some parts I really loved, others not so much. It's got quite a Dickinson vibe to it, as well as a Greek mythology retelling. Sounds weird, but it's actually a good story and a little bit sad. Really enjoyed it and would recommend it. The next book I read was The Hex. Great Halloween book. We'll just ignore I read it in May. We'll probably put it on my October read list again. Great story, great twist in this. I gave it 4 stars. I then had another arc to read, which was Rose of the Deadlands by Jessie Sprague. And it's this one here. Haven't got covers for all of them. I gave that 4 stars. It's got really good world building, fantastic, superb characters, great plot, really great twist. And I really hope there's going to be more to see how it develops, because I think it's just going to sort of be one of those that starts off like this and the series ends up there. Really enjoyed it. My next book I read was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon by Sarah Hawley. I love this. The spice was fab. The story is funny, hilarious. Bits I laughed out loud. As well as sad and relatable in some bits. I gave this 5 stars. I read this in a day. I could not put it down. Fab book. Would really recommend. The next book I read was this one here. Ruined Beauty by Cara Bianchi. The spice in this, 5 stars, pure filth, and I loved it. Read that in a day. It was a really quick read. My next book I read was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I absolutely loved this. This is possibly my favourite book I've read this year. Viv, who is the main female character in this, is amazing. I absolutely adored her and I loved what she did with her little, lattes coffee shop. Really, really good book. Would really recommend it if you haven't read it. Next I read Omiyari by Erin Nimni Longhurst. I gave this 4 stars. I've been reading this on and off for ages. I had the 2 as a set. I read one of them earlier this year. It's all about the Japanese art of compassion. I really enjoyed it. If you like that sort of thing, I did. Would recommend as well. Next one was another Audible book, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I gave this 3 stars. I just don't think I'm a Jane Austen fan. But I'm glad I read this one because it filled out the N on my A to Z book reading alphabet challenge I'm trying to do. So, next book I read was another arc. This one here, Hex in the City by Kate Johnson. I enjoyed this book more than the first one, actually. I think Poppy is a brilliant character. I gave it 5 stars. I read it over a couple of days. The last arc I read this month was this one here, The Chase Begins. I got that from Book Sirens. It's by Amy Donnellan. I really like the world building in this as well, and the characters are really good. Be interesting to see how the story develops, because they sort of left it on a bit of a cliffhanger. 5 stars. I gave that one. And then my last arc, which I'll show you the picture here because it's quicker. This one here, Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. So Bookshops and Bone Dust. Sorry, my phone froze. And Legends and Lattes. I've read 2 amazing books by this author this month. How lucky am I? I love this Bookshops and Bone Dust. It's the prequel to Legends and Lattes. Viv is amazing. I loved Fern and her bookshop. She was marvellous. I love the idea. I love Satchel. I love Miley. Then my heart did break for her. And I just think Travis Baldree is a genius. And I'm going to put that on pre-order. 5 stars. And that's everything from me. I'll see you next month.